Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Dan Cheeseman, Membership Director at the Chicago Interactive Marketing Association, or CIMA for short. For those who may be new, CIMA is all about connecting, developing, and elevating Chicago's marketing community, bringing together professionals across brands, agencies, tech, and students to learn from each other and grow. Today's session is especially relevant given how competitive and fast-changing our industry is. Standing out and clearly communicating your value has never been more important. Before we get started, just a couple quick notes. Today's session is about 40 minutes of content, followed by time for Q&A at the end. Feel free to drop questions into the chat throughout the presentation, and you're welcome to use emojis to engage along the way. We'll skip the raised hand feature so we can keep things moving and make sure we get through all the contents. We're excited to have Lynn here today to walk us through how to position yourself as a candidate of choice. And with that, we'll turn it over to Lynn.
Thank you, Dan, and all of CIMA. It is a real joy to come back and to present and to welcome to all the participants who are here today. As I said earlier, please feel free to take notes and have paper, and there'll be opportunities for audience participation as we go along. A little introduction about myself. First, I want to thank my interns, Arpita and Veronica, who helped put this deck together. I love having interns as part of my team. And I've won quite a few awards over the years, so that certainly is a nice added benefit to being a recruiter. And I'm what we call the relationship and storytelling recruiter. I love mentoring students to get them started on their careers and do a lot of career consulting as well. One of the fun things about who I am is also competitive storyteller, and I have performed 4 times for the Story Slam competitions here in the Chicago area. This year marks my 41st year as a recruiter and the last 26 running my own shop. We specialize in marketing and communications, and I'm proud to call myself a CIMA member and presenter. If you start on the next slide and look at marketing on top with the purple circle, our areas of expertise usually change depending on what's hot in the market in terms of what clients are looking to hire for. So it's marketing, communications, public relations, digital, data, advertising, freelance, and a lot of career consulting these days. You'll get a copy of this deck so you can look in more detail about specifics. CIMA people who are here today, I'd love for you to put your not your initials, but what area you are in the chat so we can recognize who is participating today. So if you are a subject matter expert, if you're working in account management, on the corporate side, not-for-profit, agency, if you're a student, if you're into media planning or buying, if you're on the creative side, research or marketer, please put that into the chat so we can acknowledge who you are and hopefully a variety of people within our disciplines. What do we have coming up so far? Anything yet, Dan? In the chat?
Everyone's being a little bit shy today.
Okay, so
here we go. Client side. We got one participant here. Thanks, Eric.
One on the client side? Okay.
Field marketing, marketer on corporate side, agency media buyer.
Good. This is a good way for me to get a sense of the communications and the people participating today. Welcome. All right. This is one of my favorite activities. So I want everybody here. How do you want to be seen as a professional? Do you want to be seen as ordinary or extraordinary? If you want to be seen as ordinary, please write ordinary in the chat. If you want to be seen as extraordinary, please write extraordinary, and let's see what your answers look like today. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. I think we're on to something here. Any more answers? Extraordinary. Aha. You notice, everybody, extraordinary. Did anybody put in the answer that they want to be seen as ordinary? No, look at this. It's not even, this is the first time I've ever done this workshop that people have said extraordinary. So this is a very special group of people. So if you want to be seen as extra or extraordinary, then you need to show up as somebody who has added value, extra, that will make a difference in your profession and make you the candidate of choice. Now, this is one of my favorite activities also. If you have never heard of Marcus Buckingham, he is a guru all about strength finders. You can do the assessment later. There's a link at the bottom. It takes about 15 minutes. So for today, I want you to look at these keywords: advisor, connector, creator, equalizer, influencer, pioneer, provider, stimulator, teacher. And based on what those words mean to you when you first see them, pick 2 that you associate with your strengths and put them in the chat. You'll be able to find out more specifics once you do this evaluation, and this assessment tool is free. So put 2 words that describe you in terms of your abilities to stand out. And let's see what we have coming out. We have connector, advisor, oh, I have to look tight, equalizer, teacher pioneer, connector pioneer, creator provider, creator connector, connector creator. Ha ha! This is very interesting. There's a lot of people who have similar types. Advisor, creator. Now, let's look at the next slide. So I involved my students as well as myself. So my standout assessment is creator teacher. Veronica was creator connector, and Arpita was advisor pioneer. Think of what those keywords mean to you. And then once you do the assessments, you'll probably have an affirmation of the aha moment and how you can apply your strengths to everything and anything you do at work and play and in life. Now, here's another activity. And the reason I'm doing all these activities, when you're interviewing for a job or when you're pitching a new client for business, who are you? Why should we hire you? What makes your agency different? What are you going to add that no one else has in common? These activities are really helpful for you to be able to answer quickly without pausing and saying ums and you knows and things like that. For example, my 6-word story is passionate recruiter loves placing superb talent. My 6-word story is actually a sentence. When you do your 6-word story, coming up next, you can pick words, a sentence, or individual words. It doesn't necessarily have to make a sentence. I'll give you 1 minute, ready, set, go.
And would you like anyone to place them in the chat? Oh, here we go. We got our first one. Yep.
What do we have? Do we have any answers yet?
Yes. Lisa, seasoned senior salesperson and consultant.
Nice.
Eric, strategic marketer, developing plans and executing.
These are very smooth. So you notice when you're a pro in your field, how easily it comes to you. And even when you're not, it's always good to practice. That way, your answers are smooth and relevant, and you're ready for whatever comes next. So, because branding is so much an integral part of everybody's life here, we're going to take branding to a different perception of who you are as your own individual brand. Entrepreneur.com defines branding as the following: the marketing practice of creating a name, symbol, or design that identifies and differentiates a product from other products. So when you look below and you see some of the visuals, everybody automatically knows what the Google visual looks like, Apple, McDonald's, Amazon, because these are valued logos. You recognize them immediately, and they have history and quality behind their names. Now, I want to ask you about your brand. Personal branding begins the moment you discover yourself. This is what I call the aha moment. And think about when things came together for you. Watch out, the next slide. Now, Jason Hartman says, your personal brand is a promise to your clients, a promise of quality, consistency, competency, and reliability. Now it's all about your work in practice. It's not good enough to have an aha moment. It has to be put into play. Now, Jeff Bezos has a different interpretation of brand. Your brand is what people say about you after you leave the room. Now, sometimes we can also say that might be gossip. However, for our purposes today, I want you to think about, what do people say about you when you leave the room? Hopefully it's positive and that reflects your brand. So ladies and gentlemen, think about what your tagline might be. Our tagline at LHNA is, we are storytelling and relationship recruiters. So ladies and gentlemen, what is your brand tagline? Please feel free to put it in the chat. Do we have any courageous branding experts sharing their brand taglines yet? We got one, Lisa. Solutions provider for all marketing needs. Nice. LL translating. Whoop, where did that one go? Can you finish reading it?
Yeah, translating national brand strategy into local growth.
Nice. You see how quickly you can get it if you use a tagline that resonates with your clients and customers. All right, let's keep going. Now, we're getting into the skills section, which is critically important. Why? Because as a recruiter, I can tell you what's hot on the market. And when clients are looking for specific skill sets, they will tell me must have, must have, must have. So now we're going to look at creative. For example, we've seen a huge need for people with the Adobe suites, or people who know how to use Pinterest, or hopefully Grammarly, hopefully even more so that you know how to spell. And there are definitely tools that can help you with that. Be careful though. Grammarly doesn't know the difference between he and her or go and God. You still have to rely on your brain. And we have been using Canva all the time. This deck was created in Canva, for example. So those are creative. So look in the ones that speak to you and write down for yourself which ones you already have experience in, or maybe you have others that we should know about. Next set are your technical skills. And I'm going to tell you an interesting story about Salesforce. We had a client, still a client actually, 21 years of working together, and they were looking for a marketing specialist, CRM, customer relationship marketing. And the candidate had to have Salesforce. They were looking on their own and said, Lynn, don't recruit. We're going to fill this job on our own. Okay, well, they're the client. They tell me what they need and when they don't need us. After 4 months, they had received not one candidate who fit the bill. Instead, they got 1,330 resumes. Not one was a fit. We then came into play and worked with the client to redefine the specs, and we completely rewrote the specs. Our rule of thumb when we present talent is the rule of 3. Guess what happened, everybody? We rewrote that the candidate had to have strong interpersonal skills. Just to be a technical person wasn't good enough. They had bought Salesforce, but no one knew how to do it, and they needed someone to teach them. We then presented 2 resumes. They hired one, and that candidate is still working and having great contributions being made to the company. So think about what your specialty areas are and the value add you bring to your clients, to your companies, because that will make you stand out. Now let's look at AI, and this is certainly not a full list of AI skill sets. So again, it's all about continuous learning and adding value, and especially because everything keeps changing on a day-to-day basis. For example, we're very happy that CIMA has opportunities for members to participate in the AI skills training classes. Question to everybody here. Look at these skill sets and ask yourself, what do you love doing? Not what you do because you have to, right? And there are ways that you can monetize your skills, whether you're doing freelance work or you're helping out in a volunteer capacity, you want to start your own business. What are your strengths in terms of core skills? Are you somebody who's great at marketing? Are you a videographer, a designer, social media? Are you the person who makes innovation, creates new products and services? Whatever it is for you, write those words down on your paper or again in the chat, because Just like myself as a recruiter, I've always been a storyteller, and I have integrated storytelling and teaching people how to do storytelling as part of their presentation skills. And it has been one of the most amazing experiences for me to do and to teach and to pass on to other generations. And it's really fun. Now, think about your own brand, everybody, about the three pillars: CCV, clarity, consistency, and value. So if you look at who you are and what you want to be named for, if you come into a CIMA a membership event and people come and say, I want to introduce you to, because she is best in class in X or Y or Z, then that's how you build your reputation and your skill sets, and obviously have that presence and poise to be seen as a person who adds value. So think about what you're known for, how you show up. We don't want somebody to have a hot day and then a cold day, because you need to be consistent. And what value do you bring to people in your peer group, into the leadership team, into the companies you work for, so you will be seen as the go-to person? This is one of my favorite activities. And I want everybody right now, take your cameras and take a picture. Why? Because we want to thank Rishat Tabakawala for this wonderful activity. And I want to thank my intern, Veronica, for taking this article from Rishat and making it into an activity sheet. For example, think about your career journey. 9 words. The headers are niche, voice, story, and core expertise. I'm going to lead you through this activity right now. Now, my 9-word exercise, my niche. What am I good at? Recruiting. I hope so by now. Connecting with people, using my sense of intuition. And for examples, when I get on the phone with a client and they give me the specs and I say, I have your candidate, and I actually place those candidates. It is so well known in terms of how I can now intuit my talent, because I've been in this business for so long. I know my people and I know my clients. Voice is a very important aspect, because too many people, sadly, ums and ahs and you knows when they talk, and it's choppy and they do not come across confident. So ask yourself how others describe your voice. So people say, I'm effective, I'm energizing and confident. And when I tell stories, I get people's attention. Come to the next section called story. Did this bring joy into my life when I read that? So what defines my story? I'm authentic, I'm alive, I'm interactive, and I love to put on a performance. Come down to your core expertise. Now you take those 9 words and pull one as your main word for today, or for the next 3 months or so. Intuition won for me. Why? Because when I did this exercise and I realized that my intuition is part of my DNA, it's so strongly reinforced that I know I can rely on it, because it's been tested over many, many years. And I know it because I feel it and I have evidence to support it. So when I say what's my core skill, it's intuition. And I know when best in class is ready to be presented and hired by my clients. So think now, in looking at your 9-word story, we're going to give you 2 minutes. Feel free to put your answers on your piece of paper. Ready, set, go. One more minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your one word that expresses your core expertise in the chat. Do we have any answers yet? Tenacity. Ooh, it's a good one. Networking. Another tenacity. Any others?
I'll add mine. Innovative.
Innovative, thank you. So this activity, we've condensed it to a rather short period of time. Don't worry about that. You get the flow of how to do this process, and feel free to continue after the session and actually do it with other people. It's a really dynamic and wonderful activity. This is one of my keepers. Now, let's look at the 10 top marketing skills that employers are valuing in 2026. This comes from an article from National University. There is the actual article that goes into more detail if you click on the picture. Looking at this list, there are 10 items. Please look at them. I'll call them out. And the one that speaks to you the most, put that number in the chat. Data literacy and marketing analytics. 2, digital advertising and paid media strategy. 3, SEO and content strategy. 4, social media and community engagement. 5, storytelling and brand communication. 6, AI and automation in marketing. 7, customer experience and journey mapping. 8, cross-functional collaboration and communication. 9, strategic thinking and campaign planning. And 10, adaptability and lifelong learning. So which of these skill sets, marketing skills, are the most important for you right now? Just give us one number to start us off. What numbers are we seeing here in the chat?
I'll read them off. We
Yes,
got a
please.
1, 9, 5, 2, 6, 2, 2, 9, 1, 2, 9, 10, 2.
Excellent. So what this shows to me is that there's a variety of skill sets that are of value in this day and age that we live in today. It's very hard to be a subject matter in all 10. The key thing is keeping up to date with your core competencies, keep learning, adding value. This is one of my favorite expressions these days. And also collaborate with other people so that you can each teach each other and be of benefit to your clients. This is a new concept, actually. I thank Arpita for bringing this to me. It's the T-shaped employee or the V-shaped. This was completely new for me. So if you are a T-shaped, you have shallow knowledge in a broad range of areas, and you have deep expertise in one area. If you're V, you're gradually broadening your knowledge in adjacent areas. So you have deep in one area. So think about who you are. Would you describe yourself as T or V? Are you the kind of person who can pick up a conversation with anybody and you can relate to them and they can enjoy speaking with you? Or are you that subject matter expert who really knows something, one area in depth? What do we have here? One, oh,
So
these are T's? T's. A lot of T's. Oh, there's a V coming up. Now, as you think about yourselves, think about what is that expertise that you have. If you have a broad range of areas, think about how that gives you a benefit to your company, to your organization, to your clients. And then think about the deep expertise that you bring when they say, we should turn to Gage for this because he's a subject matter expert. Or we should turn to Dan for that because he has a really broad understanding of what's going on in the general areas in our business world. And I know one of the reasons I love to read the newspaper or other online tools is so I can get a big picture of literally what's cooking. And I can literally say, yep, I have my sense of what the rhythm is and what's making my heart beat, and I can get a sense of what's going on. So you can contribute in a conversation, let's say at a networking event. This very next one, I'm going to say Be careful and be cautious and also be enthusiastic. Now you might be saying, Lynn, why are you saying be careful? I'll tell you why. I love speaking at conferences, workshops, and seminars. It's one of the things that brings me a huge amount of joy at this point in my life. However, and I want to warn you all in particular about podcasts. I don't know if you've had this yet. If you have, please let me know in the chat. Lately, I've been getting a lot of requests to be featured on podcasts. We are starting our podcast areas. We would like to showcase you as an early participant in our podcast. And I read this message and they all sound the same. It's like, uh-oh, I'm nervous. And I don't click on anything. And I double check who these people are because they never give their websites. I don't click on their emails because you don't want to expose yourself to any particular scam. Be careful. I'm seeing this happen more and more in the last few weeks. Have any of you had this kind of solicitation recently? Did anybody put yes in the chat? No. Okay. All right. A key thing is if you get trusted people in your industry who are asking you to be part of chat programs, by all means participate. And I have been recorded in chat conversations with people who I know and trust. So always vet the people, the organizations who are asking you to be a subject matter expert in a podcast or any other kind of broadcast material so that you will be the subject matter expert. On the other hand, if you are an emerging leader in your field, depending on whether you are students or experienced staff, if you have the opportunity to lead workshops and seminars, by all means, because then you position yourself differently, you get recognition, you are seen differently, and you might be that candidate of choice for a job opening or some workshops or seminars where you can contribute back in a leadership capacity. When you do that, make sure you're creating your content, make sure you add copyright protection because you need to protect yourself as well. And again, one of the reasons why I love CIMA is I've had the chance to contribute and to lead sessions for CIMA as well. Social media, make sure if you're a subject matter expert in these areas that you know how to connect with younger talent as well and to share your knowledge as an SME subject matter expert. We are definitely seeing a lot of trending content coming through TikTok and Instagram. And I tend to use more on LinkedIn because I have to evaluate my time and where is my audience going to be, potential clients and potential candidates. So I like to use LinkedIn and I have lots of tips about how to use that to full advantage. Now, look at job specs. When you're applying for jobs, they are in many ways a window as to what the client is looking for. However, even job specs aren't always a good indicator of what the client is looking for. Because when I work with clients, I ask a lot of questions because the more I have answers, the better able I am basically to rewrite the job specs so that the right kind of candidates will understand what the client is looking for. And then I can present the best in class talent. I have to tell you, clients are just as much in the same class as candidates are. They're too close to their own job specs to be able to write them for an outside audience. And the same way, candidates are too close to their own experience to rewrite their resume. Don't feel bad. It's just a matter of having an outside voice and perspective to help sharpen the perspective that you want to share. Now, I want everybody to think about what is your unique positioning statement. Why should we hire you? And this statement is basically your summary statement at the very top of your resume. You don't need to use I am statements. You can go straight into an experienced copywriter, award-winning copywriter, or whatever you use to describe yourself, if it's business to business to consumer, Fortune 500 brands. So you use those keywords as a hook to generate interest so people want to read more about you in your resume. And this is a whole seminar just in and of itself about resumes. Now, what do I look for in a candidate's resume? So we talked about your summary on top. Very important after your skill sets, technical skills, creative skills, language skills, for example, and different software. And I love to use the word case stories when you talk about your experience so it becomes relevant and sticky in the brain. Because if you repeat your job description, that's not your resume. And we want to see accomplishments. Let's look at one of my favorite visuals. This is what I call the timeline in chocolate. If you think about purple, that's present. That's a job description. Too many people write about their work as a job description and not highlighting accomplishments when they write their resume. A job description is what you are hired to do. Now let's go to red for resume. Your resume talks about your accomplishments, your case stories, how you made a difference. Quantify and qualify. That way, your resume has the pop factor and it separates you from your competitors. Why is all this important? Because it will lead to the money, the green, the future job that you are under consideration for. And they will see a pattern of growth and experience that you will add as a benefit to your future employer, so that we see you are not necessarily always on the journey up. It could be in a different area. The fact is that you are adding value. Now, let's talk about e-portfolios. Look at the fourth bullet on the bottom, free tools. Feel free to use Unsplash, Wix, Canva, as we discussed earlier, and Pexels to create your samples so that you can share them with potential clients. You want to have those accessible. Now, be very careful about what you put out in a public domain, because you don't want anybody stealing from your portfolio. And always Google yourself to test your work. Now, I want to give everybody a word of warning, because I learned this the hard way. Years ago, when we first started doing all this work with Google and visuals and samples, two of my interns, I asked them to find some visuals. And one of them, which was funny, it was a piece of matzah. Matzah is used during the Passover holiday, and it's a cracker. And oh, did I suffer, because I got fined for a stupid piece of matzah that I had sitting in my cupboard. And I could have taken the piece of matzah and made a picture of it myself. Instead, I got fined. And then there was a French newspaper that fined me because I took a picture of their Olympic holding the banners, and I had to pay 2 fines. So I say this as a word of warning: never use anything that has copyright protection on it when you want to use visuals. Create your own, take pictures, or enroll somebody to help you do them yourself. Now, here's another one of my pet expressions, the mantra of the journalist, W5 plus H. When you're interviewing for a job, and you are being interviewed, or you ask questions, and you find yourself thinking, I got to ask a question. Just think, W5 plus H. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. So you can ask good questions. And also, when you're asked a question that starts with a W and an H, you know how to reply immediately and don't have and together. If I have time, remind me, and I'll tell you the story about Justice Ginsburg if we have time at the end. So you have to be very clear and cite examples to validate why you should be the candidate of choice. Now, what's the purpose of an interview? If you think about the resume, rapport, and relationships, that's what I call the 3 R's. You don't want to jump from submitting your resume, going for an interview, and then getting into a deep relationship. It's too soon. You want to build trust. You want to build a sense of being able to understand each other and build that rapport first before they go much deeper in terms of your philosophies of life and your childhood experiences and all of that. Because they want to first find out, are you a fit for us? And know what their core values are and what your core values. Make sure you do your research. And core values should be integrated into every company, every agency's website. And you want to see what steps you need to take to go forth in the process to be hired. And you also want to understand what the corporate culture is if you are a fit yourself. Now, you're going to laugh about this one, because I call this the WOW project. And this is my invention. When you go in for an interview, you don't want to just bring your resume and talk about what you've done, all right? Because you're sitting in the present talking about the past. What you want to do is advance to the future. And this is what I call the wow project. Now, part of this involves you using your intuition and understanding when the timing is right and what you have done is appropriate. I'll give you an example. And I do this myself, by the way. Let's say your interview is about an hour long and you're moving to about 50 minutes and it's feeling like you're really connecting and it feels good energy going back and forth. Only do this if you feel comfortable. For example, you would say, I'm very interested in joining your agency. I have a few ideas that I'd like to share with you. This is an in-person interview. And in that moment, you might take a few samples of a project that you constructed especially for this interview and show them your project. It might be a deck, it might be a booklet that you put together. It doesn't really matter how you deliver, as long as it's clean, neat, and easy to read. Then what happens? The person interviewing you looks at the samples, smiles, looks at you, maybe looks at some of the samples a little bit more. It doesn't really matter. You have gained that person's attention and that person is smiling. And then what happens? The interview goes into a different level of conversation. And who is in charge of the interview at that point? What do you think, everybody? Who's in charge? Want to put your answer in the chat? What do you think? What kind of answers do we have? Are people getting shy? Do we have any answers in the chat? Me, Lisa, you, yes, you get it, everybody? Cool, because you shift the dynamics of the interview. And then what happens when the interviewer sees that, go, okay, as we were saying, and then they move on. And I have witnessed this directly myself. I'm not making this up. Now, here's a warning. So here, let me show you first. See, here are some of the ideas you can come up with. The big idea, the 30, 60, 90-day plan. Why do I recommend this? Because nobody else does this except my people. I train them. I coach them when they go for interviews. And what happens is when they talk to other candidates, they don't come up with their wow project. And you did. It separates you from your competition. I want to give you a word of warning. Let's say you put your wow project together and it's off. And you know it when you're sitting there in the interview. Guess what you can do? You don't have to present it. All you do is say to yourself, I need to make a few edits. You go home, you make your edits, and you include it, revision 2.0, and you send it with your thank you letter to the person you interviewed, because the interviewer will not know that you didn't want to send the first one because it wasn't appropriate. You know intuitively and subjectively, because you were in that interview, what is going to be appropriate or not. You are in control. And it is amazing because it works. Now, let's talk about how you can make more money. If you have the technical knowledge, especially these days, you're a good problem solver and a good communicator, these kinds of candidates tend to make more money. Now, is it automatically 30%? That remains to be seen. The budgets are tighter these days. I can't always guarantee you're going to do that. However, show yourself as best in class and you usually will win. If that means getting an offer, great. If it means that you're getting an increase in salary, wonderful. And there's always room for negotiation to create what I call a win-win scenario. Now, let's talk about AI. Now, AI in business, do you see where it says fact-checking resource? You know that AI is built on content that gets streamed in. Does it mean it's authentic and factual? No. And you can use NewsGuard's tool to double check, to fact check your material. I don't know how many of you know this, that Meta stopped doing fact checking in 2025. So you have to be very careful about any content that you're using to make sure that it's truthful. Now let's think about AI overall. Pros, you certainly can be a lot more efficient and automate tasks, a lot of data-driven decision-making, lots of innovations. Every single day there seems to be something new, and you can personalize at scale. There are definitely some cons. Security issues. Lots of jobs are being displaced. Doesn't always display good judgment, and there are definitely no emotions or creative. The environmental implications are very strong, that 5 to 25 prompts use up a 16-ounce bottle of water. So the planet is definitely going to pay the price for that as well. I want to give you another tip, this time about LinkedIn. LinkedIn and your resume are two different tools that you use. If you want to have a public persona, definitely use LinkedIn. And now I'm even starting to second think about even if you want to put your resume on LinkedIn. Because if you're easily accessible, anybody can take up your resume and take content from it and incorporate it into their own. I can tell you years ago when candidates, this is a long, long time before I started my own business, I saw two candidates' resumes and I looked at them and go, wait a minute. One candidate had copied and pasted the exact words from the colleague's resume into his resume. Illegal, it's not only illegal, it wasn't truth, and it was cheating. You have to be careful what you use and what you give out to the public domain. Remember, your resume highlights your accomplishments. They have different roles. And LinkedIn is constantly changing. How you comment on content is now how people are being judged on LinkedIn. I want to introduce a new tip for you, and you tell me if you've ever heard of this tip. It's called the most relevant. So let's say I want to show you an example. Here we have a content that was posted. And you see there were 3,425 impressions. This is by Becca Chambers. And I and 231 other people commented. Do you see where it says most relevant with the red line underneath it? I did the 2-paragraph rule. I wrote 2 paragraphs in response to Becca's content. I put a line in between the two. And I always make sure that I'm adding extra commentary. And what happens, you see it in real time. It's hysterical to watch it. Your content will literally dance to the top, right underneath hers, and you will see most relevant. And what happens if you are reading, let's say, Becca Chambers' content, my commentary on hers will be right underneath hers. And I have done this thousands of times. And my content is always most relevant. No one taught me how to do this. I learned about it during COVID. And I went, oh, look at that. And I've taken a lot of workshops on LinkedIn. Not one time has it ever been put as a learning agenda. So consider yourselves now people with front row seats and how you can use your 2-paragraph rule to get you to be seen as the most relevant. Now, here's another one. Have any of you heard about 2pr.io? If so, put yes. If no, put no in the chat. No. Okay, so this is a pretty good survey. Nobody said yes. All right, so let me tell you what happened about no. I turned it to yes. Why? Because I was following Becca Chambers. She is a guru online on LinkedIn. She has about 93,000 followers. And she was talking about 2pr.io. I said, what's this? I looked it up. Right now, there's still elements that are free. And it will evaluate your LinkedIn content. Let me show you how. Now, there are 2 steps. If you want to take a picture of this, go ahead. You will get this in the chat, in the deck. Step 1, you see where it says 2pr.io LinkedIn review. You click on that, and then you enter your personal LinkedIn profile. Like you see right underneath, it's linkedin.com/in/Lynn Hazan. That's mine. So you'll do first to the 2pr.io, and then you'll put in your LinkedIn profile. Everybody get that? Now look what happens. I'll show you mine. The first time I did it, I got these categories, 2PR index, all the way down to overall completeness. And it gave me a score ranging from 86 to 80 to 90%. And then it gave me recommendations next to it. And I did it a few months later and I got a different set of numbers. The beauty of this, it's personalized for you. No one else will get the same kind of analysis and recommendations, and it is free. So if you want to gauge how you are doing on LinkedIn, this is an amazing tool. Now I want you to think about your career moat in terms of your competitive advantage in the job market today. You don't want to be easy to be replaced. And how are you going to protect yourself and adapt to the changing needs in the job market? Let's talk about how. Because job security doesn't exist anymore. I can tell you, being a recruiter for as long as I've been in the business, I've seen the ups and downs of the job market. It goes down and then it goes up again. You want to adapt and change so that you are an early adopter. And even with everything that's going on with AI, the roles are changing so fast that people don't even know what they're doing anymore. And they're just getting rid of people. And then when they realize, oops, we shouldn't have done that, then they want to rehire people and yet also incorporate AI into new job descriptions. There's a lot of restructuring going down, and who you are, your skills, your abilities, your reputation, your network, this is really going to be your safety net. And I can tell you, because I'm committed to it as well, to be relevant and to be valued is to always be learning. As long as you live, you're always going to be learning. And make sure when you're doing your pitch for a job that why should they hire you, and be able to give tangible evidence with examples. And then I highly recommend everybody sit in front of your computer, smile, stand in front of your mirror and smile, and tape yourself 30 seconds and 60 seconds. Then play it back. How many times did you say or you know or and then you'll be able to see and hear, oh, I need to edit, I need to practice, so I don't use those words as fillers. When you do find yourself repeating those words, just take a breath, not through your throat, through your nose. And that way you give yourself permission to pause, and you're not saying all those catchy words that drive us all crazy when people are interviewing. And create your wow project as well. Now I want to end with the power of E7. Excellence, engagement, eloquence, entertainment, yes, even in our business, enhancement, envision the future, and empowerment. Think of how you empower the power of 7E, and then you can include that in terms of who you are and why we should hire you. Now, what we're going to do next is the following. Here are different QR codes if you want to get our free newsletter. It comes out every Monday with our job openings, workshops, etc. Then the next one is please connect with LinkedIn. I am a big fan of LinkedIn. And here, if you want to register because you're looking for new jobs, we encourage you to register with us. And as well, if Q&A we're going to come to right now, I just want to go click, click, click for a second. Let me show you why. When I do any kind of presentation, I always present and give you a resource kit. I call this added value. This is additional information. I'm just going click, click. Don't panic because it's all in your deck as my present to you. That way, there's always added value that I am giving to you as a presenter. And it works in amazing ways that we are always going to say, what value add do you get out of being involved with LHNA as your recruiter or someone you want to network with or be represented by or be the person who you hired to recruit for you. So now we have time for Q&A. How'd we do, everybody? I see lots of hearts. I like hearts. Thank you. You made my day, everybody. In case you didn't know it, I like to present. Questions. Does anybody have any questions you want to ask? You can write them in the chat. You can put your hand up. What was relevant for you? Also, that would help. What specific points that I made are relevant for you? Thank you, Carlos. Great presentation. Thank you. Tiffany, thank you. This was very helpful. So what was helpful? If you can be specific, that'll help me in terms of feedback as well. To PR and LinkedIn. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Nobody has any questions?
No, go ahead, Danny, and let me know if anybody has trouble unmuting. I don't know how the settings work, so I'm good.
Hi, I'm Danny. I have a quick question for you. I was curious how the resume summary differentiates from the bio LinkedIn summary.
They have different purposes. That's a very good question. Your bio for LinkedIn is, remember, the universe is your audience when you're talking to people via LinkedIn. it's almost like the 6-word story in a sense. What are key phrases about you that are going to be your hook to get somebody's attention? Your resume is a more personalized document that is very specific about the kind of way you want to position yourself for a job. That's why I say make it into a paragraph. And then, because remember, when you do your LinkedIn profiles, you could have 6 or 8 of those summary words in there so that you attract a broader audience. Because remember, your LinkedIn profile is interactive, and you want people to respond to some of the keywords and expressions that you're using about yourself. And your resume is going to be more specific, and you can tailor make it according to the job that you are going to be applying for.
That helps. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you. What advice do you have for candidates trying to change jobs? Is that question? Change jobs, transferable skills. What do you bring to a new company, client, agency that they need that you already have in your backpack, so to speak? So are you a person who has good, strong technical skills? Are you using AI skills? Are you somebody who is a subject matter expert when it comes to social media? What is it, I call that added value, that you can bring? There are so many classes that you can take for free on LinkedIn, for example, or come up with creative campaigns to position yourself in those areas, because you might be looking to switch into a different area of your career track. Think of the ones that are in growth mode and where you can add value and show initiative, that you're taking the time and effort to learn more, to grow, and to see where they have gaps in their area that you can fulfill. And again, you're that go-to person because you have something to add that they need right now. For example, one of the things I do, I grew up speaking French. I took Latin in high school. I then learned Spanish. I know a little bit of Hebrew, and anything that I do with languages is always an asset because I talk to my candidates. I see where they're from. What languages do you speak? And it connects me with my clients and with my candidates. And that way they see that I have something extra to add as a recruiter that they might not have with somebody else. What is it that you bring? So for example, because I've been a storyteller my whole life, that's something extra that I bring to the equation that maybe other people don't have. What makes you unique? What makes you stand out?
Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
What is it for you that makes you stand out, for example?
Oh boy. Oh gosh, getting put on the spot here. I am a very personal person, very outgoing, love to connect with people.
Do you do anything with sales related tasks?
Not necessarily, although I do have some more client facing aspects of my job.
Okay, so here's a great idea. If you are already client facing and you are able to win new business or get more client assignments because you're great with clients, that might be something that you can test the waters with and see if you're making a difference and you can add new business. Or maybe you are looking to get new client business and you test that out in another area. You don't want to threaten anybody's job who's already in sales. However, you might identify either a piece of business that you could get or a new client or a potential new client because you're kind of checking out ways that you can add revenue to the firm. Anybody who adds revenue, do you think people are going to fire those people?
Probably not.
If you're that go-to person and you have the hard problems to solve, and it could be biz dev related, or this is a really tricky issue, or I'm having trouble solving this problem, and you become that go-to person, then you will position yourself as a subject matter expert. We just filled a job for a director of compliance and for a healthcare related client. And we needed a JD. We needed a person who was a lawyer and had experience in all these different areas that 4 people might have. And we needed all that skill set in one person. And my colleague found that candidate. She was a wizard in finding these kinds of candidates. That added a lot to her expertise as she researched a lot about compliance regulations. So what are you a subject matter expert in? What can you grow your skill set? And what is the business world going in a direction that you can help take a leadership role in? What makes you unique? What makes you special?
All right. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Other questions?
I think
I have a question.
Hand raised.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry, Gage, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, here's my question. So Lynn, first of all, hi, nice to meet you in person. We're actually connected on LinkedIn already. But real quick question. I put my profile through that site. I got the analytics, so looks pretty good. The one thing I recommended was to add samples. The thing is, I have samples. They're down in my job experience section. I have quite a bit of them. So where's a better place? Move some of them up into the top section, or do I put new ones? Because I have so much experience, I can probably come up with more samples to put up top there. But where is the better place to put your projects and your job samples?
You know what? This is a good question. Two things I'm thinking out loud. First of all, I've done this a few times. I've never put quote samples in it. Double check on the site. If you add samples, do you then have to pay? Test it. Test it and see if that's the section that you can add the samples in, and see what kind of work, what kind of answers it gives you in return.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I've done it a few times and it gives me different responses. Like sometimes my headers for headlines can be improved. Other times they're okay.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, you take it with a grain of salt then, right? You got to use your human intelligence.
Yeah, thank you. Because you know what? Nobody's going to replace your brain.
That's right. Yeah. So I guess for me, it just makes more sense to add the samples and the projects in with the job where I completed those. But I don't know, from a marketing standpoint, like right above the fold type of thing, is it better to have the samples up top? So,
well, if you're talking about on your resume, I always say, you know,
no, just on LinkedIn. These are actual documents, plans, platforms, projects I completed.
Question for you. Is it okay for those to be visible?
Yes.
Okay.
They've been on for years. So
okay. If it's fine, then it is visible. Be very careful, just to spring off of that, if you are putting samples out that should not be in the public domain.
Right, I understand.
Anybody's samples. Now, for example, if any of you have work that was created and posted in the media and it became a story and it was printed in the New York Times or whatever it is, that's obviously a showcase of one of your accomplishments in terms of media placement. Then that's totally legit. I am so thrilled to be here, and thank you so much, CIMA, for your support and to be able to contribute. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact me, and I look forward to meeting you hopefully sooner than later in person, one way or the other, and you will all receive a copy of this deck. And if you have more comments to make, feel free to put them in the chat or to keep in touch with me. I know I do have another workshop that starts in 1 minute. Thank you again, Dan, and thank you everybody from CIMA and Gage, and you've been wonderful partners in this endeavor.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.